Alright guys, so you're given this problem, and in this problem what they want you to do is they're saying what is the distance in a straight line from point P to R. So they want you to basically solve for the distance from this point, which is point P, all the way up to point R, which is going to form a straight line. Now watch what happens if you were to draw that out. You can see that the shape that you're going to get would be a triangle, but it's not a right triangle. So that means that you're not going to be able to use SOHCAHTOA on this, because that only applies to right triangles. What we can use though are the law of sines and the law of cosines on this. And since we're solving for the distance from point P all the way up to point R, we can use the law of cosines on this, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So this is what we're going to do. Let's actually draw this triangle out. So this is what you have so far. So this side is equal to 175 meters. This is 63 meters, and then the angle that they gave you between the two sides, it's 112 degrees. Now, it's up to you whatever you want to call the sides and stuff, but I can tell you, I personally always do this. The side that I'm solving for, I always call that A, and then, one of the other sides would be B, and that would make the last side to be equal to C. Now, what this also means is that the side that you're that you're solving for would be A, since that's what we're saying, but the angle that's across from that side would be the angle A. So in this case, the 112 degrees would be the angle A in this case when you start plugging that stuff into the law of cosines. Now, once you've done this, what you want to do is let's actually write the equation out that we're going to use to help us solve this problem. So this is what the law of cosines says. A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared, and that's equal to minus 2BC cosine of 8. That's what the equation says. Now you can see that at this point it's actually really easy. All you have to do is just plug in the values and solve for the thing that you're looking for. So since we're solving for A, we're not going to plug anything in for this. Let me just zoom in a little bit on this. Okay, so since we're solving for A, we're not going to plug anything in for this. And we've already decided that side B is equal to 175 meters in this. Now, some people like to plug the units in. I'd like to leave them out and put them in at the end of the calculation. Okay, so if you were to plug them in, that would be 175 meters and then the parentheses squared. But like I said, that's just personal preference and stuff. Plus, the side that we're calling C in this case happens to be 63 meters. So once you plug that in, this would be 63 to the second power minus 2. Again, side B in this case is 175. Oops. 175 times side C, which is 63, and then of course cosine of the angle, which we're calling A in this case to be 112 degrees from the diagram on the left. Alright guys, once you have this, you can just go ahead and start simplifying this stuff. You just have to be careful with the fact that since the angles are given in degrees, you want to make sure that the calculator is set in degrees. And the way that you're going to do that on the TI-83s and TI-84s is actually really easy. You just have to go on the mode key and then look on the third option. See where it says radians, and then the second option is in degrees. You can see that right now we're good to go because the degrees is the one that's highlighted, so we can just second quit and go back to the main screen. Alright guys. So this is what you have so far. A squared is equal to 175 squared. So what would that give us? Let's put that in the calculator. 175 squared, and that's going to give us 30,625. Plus, you still have to square those 63. So let's put that in there. 3969. Okay, don't forget you have a negative sign in there. So negative, now you're going to multiply the 2 with the 175, times it by the 63, and then the cosine of 112. On the TI-83s and 84s, it's actually real easy. Matter of fact, on any graphing calculator, you can just type the whole thing out, and it'll give you the answer on that. So let me just go ahead and just be safe, put that stuff in the parentheses, and that's going to be 2. Now notice I only wrote down the 2 in this because I kept that negative sign in there. So write the 2, multiply that with the 175, close parentheses, multiply that with 63, close this parentheses, and then times that by the cosine of 112. And we've already checked to make sure that the angle is put in degrees, so we don't have to worry about that. Now once you hit enter, you can see that this thing came out to a negative, but this shouldn't be a surprise because you know from all students take calculus, you know, the acronym that we use, let's write that over on this side. All students take calculus. You know that 112 degrees is in the second quadrant because, you know, right in the center this is 90 degrees, so that means that 112 is somewhere over on this side, and based on this you know that the cosine has to come out to a negative value. What that tells you is that this whole sum, this whole thing came out to a negative, but since you already had a negative sign in the equation, the two negatives multiply and give you a positive, so this thing changes into a positive, and then you write down the rest of the answer or the value that you got. So 8,260 point, let's round that to 3 decimal places, that's going to be 0.75 in this. Okay, alright guys, now the only thing that you have to do is add the 3 numbers up and then take the square root of that, and then that'll give you the answer that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and put that in the calculator. Alright guys, so after you add the 3 numbers up, this is what you end up getting on the calculator. So 42854.075. And the only thing that's left to do is take the square root of this. Now, on the TI-83s and 84s, you can hit the second key and you can see that right on the x squared key there's the square root symbol. So you hit that and you can put the whole thing in, or there's a shortcut that you can use. You can hit second and then go all the way at the bottom where it says negative in the parentheses, hit that right next to the enter key. You see how it says ANS? That represents the last answer that was on the calculator. So once you put that in, you don't necessarily need to close the parentheses, but I always just do it, you know, it's just a habit. Close that, hit the enter key, and there you go, that's the answer. So A is equal to 207.012 if you round that to 3 decimal places, and of course the units were given in meters, so we're gonna make sure that we write that at the end. Okay, alright guys, that's the end of the problem.